Welcome to Narrowboat Vloggl. This week we're rounding up the best bits from recent Narrowboat vlogs. This week's episode is brought to you in association with Insure for Boats. Stoppages mean that plans to move along the Rochdale Canal are put on hold for Steve from Slowboat Through Britain.
Having spent nearly 2 weeks at Hebden Bridge waiting for some news about a stoppage further along the canal, CRT have given more details. Some concrete lining is falling away from under a bridge, and for safety reasons, boats have been prevented from passing beneath it. An update is due in the next few days, so I'm going to move a little closer to be ready to go through once it's open. My family are joining me for lunch at the Stubbing Wharf, so are helping me take Moorland Road along the canal as far as the pub. It's always great to see them. I may as well make use of Matt's locking skills whilst I have him with me. Matt goes up to set the next lock, whilst I bring Moorland Road through this one. The stretch of water between two locks is known as a pound. As we've taken a lock full of water out of this relatively short one, that was a little low to start with. I wait in the lock until Matt has emptied the next lock full of water into it and open the gates before setting off. That way, I do not have to hold Moorland Road static in the centre channel and risk grounding her on the shallow sides.
Paul and Rebecca Whitewick take a look at an abandoned canal.
You join us today on a very unassuming housing estate in southern England.
Now, that doesn't sound very exciting, but this housing estate holds a small clue as to exactly what we're in search of today. Let's go and have a look. To me, looks like an old canal bridge. So this little bridge is one of the few remaining remnants of the Portsmouth and Arundel Canal, and it's a beautiful little bridge nestled away here in this housing estate. Now, this canal asks many questions that we're going to ask on this journey, one of which is how it forced a train to travel by road on makeshift rails. That's one of the many questions we're going to ask on today's journey. The Portsmouth and Arundel Canal was set to become part of an ingenious canal system which would take a route inland away from the English Channel and carry freight along the south coast without facing many of the dangers the Channel posed during the Napoleonic Wars. So behind us is Towpath Drive, ahead of us is Navigation Drive. That's probably the only clues in this little area that you're actually following the alignment of the old canal. Although the housing estate to the left, if you have a look on Google Maps, does have a few hat tips to what was before. I think there's Beam Close, Tiller Close. Yep. But 100 yards ahead of us, just over here, is probably one of the biggest clues that we're on the canal alignment.
Narrowboat Life Unlocked cruise from Marple Junction near Stockport in Manchester to New Mills and Furnace Vale in Derbyshire.
Hello.
Morning.
Well, it's not as early as we were hoping, is it?
No.
We had asked that to set the alarm last night at 6:45 this morning, and we woke up at 8 o'clock. We were hoping to get off a bit earlier. We've had a couple of nights at Marple Junction. It's been very nice, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Apart from the geese. Really noisy geese. And we've headed off in the direction of, is it Whalley Bridge or Whaley Bridge?
I think it's Whaley Bridge.
I thought it was Whalley Bridge, but I'm thinking
I don't know. Let us know.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Walgate and Wigan, aren't I? This stretch is absolutely gorgeous, but we've picked the most beautiful day, haven't we?
I think it's probably one of the nicest canals that we've done.
Yeah.
When people talk about going living on a narrowboat,
Yeah.
and the reasons why, and I think this is exactly what they have in mind. This sort of view, this
The
sort of
tranquility.
sunny day. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously not every day is sunny, but
Yeah, the birds, the blossom coming out on the trees. I think spring is one of my favourite times, as well as autumn is one of my favourite times of the year. What about you?
autumn's my favourite season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love spring.
Just on the left you can see the famous Swizzles factory. The smell was absolutely amazing, really made you want to get some sweets. Apparently Swizzles did really well during COVID, selling love hearts. Apparently teenagers were buying them like crazy to send to their loved ones.
Tales of the Riverboat Lift and move their 68-foot broad beam canal boat 100 miles.
This is our last day here today. It's quite exciting. Tomorrow the boat's going to be lifted out of the marina by a crane. We did try lifting it last week further down the river by a boatyard. For anybody that's interested, the boat weighs 35 tonnes. But it just was too heavy and it had to be put back in the water, and so we've gone with plan B. So tomorrow there's a huge 220 tonne crane coming to lift us out. And I'll miss this place. It's been absolutely fantastic here and they've been very good to us too. So we're in the right position now to be lifted. They put the ballast down on one side to counteract the weight and attach the slings. Now this is speeded up, but they swing the harness over and this is slipped underneath the boat. Interestingly, it took nearly 2 hours to prepare the boat to be lifted, but the actual lift up, the swing round and onto the lorry took the best part of only 7 minutes. Incredible, really. The driver tells us that once it's on the lorry, it actually won't have any straps over the top of it. Everything will be fixed from underneath. And his route will be decided by the police, not by him, because of course he's going to need an escort as it's so wide. And actually to get into the Thames and Kennet Marina, it's going to have to go over Caversham Bridge and through the town centre.
Jourd and Lou take a canal boat holiday. Lou has a go at driving for the first time.
Morning peeps, it's 6:30, it's a bit cold, there's a chill in the air, but we need to get going because the tide has started to come in. It's actually a chill one, it's lovely though, the sun's literally just come up. I can see sort of mist on the water, there's a big fat heron over there that's just eating fish. We're going to get moving, get the boat started up, warm, and we'll be on our way.
We're currently in a lock and it's just filling up, so we can be on our way.
We are now off the Trent, the tidal Trent. We're still on the River Trent and we're heading for Nottingham.
Woo!
We'll stop halfway I think and then Nottingham tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're stopping off at Newark for a little bit, I think for the whole day, the rest of the day, aren't we?
So we'll have a little exploration there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a good day so far. It's warming up as well, which is nice because it was chapping this morning.
Yeah.
Good work, babe. Keeping her nice and steady. Look at that shape to control the beast. This focus face is enjoyable.
Narrowboat Will takes a cruise to Foxton Locks.
Right, let's say goodbye to the Welford arm of the Grand Union Canal, the Leicester Arm. The Welford Arm off the Leicester Arm. Absolutely stunning morning, very, very cold though, icy. Boat was covered in ice, but it soon warms up at 10, 11 o'clock, and then your fire's on and you get too hot. Husbands Bosworth Tunnel. There, look. And it is 1,071 metres or 1,171 yards. Woo woo! Keep right, it says, keep right. What do I do? Shot on the left. Oh, at last, glorious sunshine. Well, I'm cruising to Foxton Locks, and I'm going to moor up just below Foxton Locks, hopefully, go back to my van, and then move it up to the locks. 4,000 boats pass through Foxton Locks each year, making it one of the busiest spots on a 2,000-mile network. Wow.
Vanessa from the Mindful Narrowboat shares some good news stories and films beautiful wildlife that inhabits the fens.
This vlog this week is going to be about some of the really positive stories that I've been picking up along the journey that I have been doing. So the first people I met were at 10 Mile Bank Bridge, and they are the Preventing Plastics Pollution team, and they were measuring and sampling the amount of microplastics in the River Great Ouse, so we can learn more in order to prevent plastics in our waters. And then we left 10 Mile Bank and we had a very brief stop in Ely, and during that stop I discovered an organisation called the Ely Litter Pickers, which has now over 696 members. And as I was out and about on the day that I was moored there, I saw families and their children all taking part in picking up litter and keeping Ely clean. And when we left Ely, we had a very brief stop just outside Upware on the Cam washes. It's a really special place there. It's a place of scientific interest, and they let the washes flood every year, and it attracts some really rare water birds and, you know, rare wildlife. But in the time that I was there, I managed to film some beautiful things happening around the Cam washes, and I'd like to share that with you now. So I mentioned that I stopped at Waterbeach, and Waterbeach has a really exciting tiny little country park, which was a story, really a project from the millennium. So what used to be grazing land for cows has now been rewilded by the local community and the children of the primary school. The children have named all the little places you can visit within the park, and also a visitor to the park is the Chifchaff, and I was really excited because it's so hard to see one, but I was hopeful I would see a Chifchaff while I was there. So off I went to the remarkable reed bed in order to try to spot a Chifchaff. So it sang for me only once, so I'll play it so you can hear that lovely sound again.
Canice Bannon moves his Dutch barge and narrowboat in the same day.
Every 2 weeks we have to move the boat. In my situation, we have 2 boats to move. So we have Georgia and we have Linda. Georgia is a narrowboat. All you need to do is whip the cover off, turn the ignition on and go. Linda, on the other hand, requires a hell of a lot more preparation to get. The boom is on this side, and we need to lower the mast down. With the angle being so tight, this is in the way. So this has to be moved over to my new shiny bracket. Ooh. Undo this bracket. And now we've got 8 of these nuts to do. Final thing to do is to whip that out, and now we are free to go. Let the slack go, this makes it easier. So you see the cable just drop down there, and now it's loose. We go down here and pull on one of these. This one. And there she goes.
The carpenter's daughter installs some privacy film on her narrowboat windows.
Now, as much as we love having neighbours in our marina, hi by the way, one thing that I'm sure everybody likes is their own privacy. So that's what I'm going to do this week, show you how I fitted some privacy window film. And I hated doing the first one after watching other people's YouTube videos, so I'm going to show you my way. So here's the double glazed windows on our narrowboat, but before you start attempting this, you do need to make sure that your glass is thoroughly clean and grease free. It's time to roll out the film on a clean surface. Then I went to my window to take measurements of the size that I needed. And this is where many YouTube videos vary. Some say to leave a 2 cm allowance all the way around so you can trim it off later. Some say to get the height right and only leave the allowance on the left and the right. And you'll notice that our windows aren't that big, which also meant we'd be left with a lot of waste. So for my first attempt, I decided not to worry about trimming any of the allowance off the bottom and only give 2 cm allowance on the left, right and the top. And I'll talk about why I thought that was a mistake in a minute. And you'll also notice, with it being a shiny reflective mirror, it's very hard to see any pencil marks if you are marking out. So a bit of masking tape sorted that out so I could see my pencil lines. Next, it was time to get the window ready, and I did this by spraying some washing up liquid solution to make it nice and slippy. But with it being a hot day, I'd also find by the time I was ready to put the film on, the window had dried, so I'd have to keep reapplying it. I suppose that's what you get being in a hot tin. And I'd pull part of it away and spray the bit that I'd exposed, take it to the window and line it up, and spray and pull as I went. Nope, didn't like that method. So I ended up having to take it back to the table, pull the backing off completely, spray it all, make sure the window's wet again, and then put it back. Although lining it up partially to get started and make sure it's straight with a taller window might be better, but definitely not these smaller ones. It wasn't that easy to get an absolutely pristine cut. So generally, no, I wasn't that happy with my first attempt, and we were almost tempted to take it off. But we are going to fit some perfect fit blinds which slot into the internal beading, so it will cover all of that. So yeah, that's why I left it. And I nearly didn't even bother with the rest of them until I thought, actually, I have an idea. Take the exact measurements of the visible window pane. And yes, it means no allowance, there's no safety net, but by triple checking the measurements, I found this a lot less stressful and quicker.
Today's episode has been curated and narrated by Lisa Warner and edited by Samuel Morris. This episode has been brought to you in association with Insure for Boats. Head over to vloggl.com to find out more.